There's one room in your house where the Wi-Fi goes to die. Full bars in the kitchen. Back here, the call drops, the page spins. Same router, nothing changed. But that router isn't sending data down a wire. It's a light bulb, screaming invisible light through your house, and your walls are painted black to it. Move 6 inches and you're alive again. So what makes one spot go dark? Wi-Fi is radio, literally the same thing as the light you can see, just a much lower note, too low for your eyes. Your router takes your data, turns it into these waves, and radiates them out in every direction at once, like a bulb glowing in a dark house. And these waves have a real physical size. On the oldest, most common band, 2.4 gigahertz, one wave is about 12 centimeters across, the width of your hand. That size is going to matter more than you'd think, because the moment a wave leaves that antenna, it starts losing. Think about what spreading in every direction really costs. The wave races outward as a growing bubble, and your phone only ever catches one tiny patch of that bubble's surface. Double your distance from the router, and that surface is 4 times bigger, so your slice drops to a quarter. Double it again, a quarter of that. By the time the wave has crossed the room, it's a sliver of what left the antenna, and it hasn't touched a single wall yet. And the faster bands? Shorter waves, smaller touch. 5 gigahertz arrives weaker than 2.4 every time. That's the first trade-off. Fast or far. You rarely get both. Now add your house. Every wall the wave crosses takes a bite out of it. Drywall, a small nibble. Glass, a little more. But a solid concrete wall? It can swallow the 2.4 signal down to 1/100th of what hit it. And that fast 5 gigahertz band we liked, the same wall costs it double. So the fast band dies at the door, and the slow, tough band is the one that limps through to the back of the house. Some walls don't absorb at all, they reflect. Metal is a mirror. The wave bounces clean off a fridge, a filing cabinet, foil-backed insulation. Even the coated, energy-saving glass in modern windows has a whisper-thin metal layer that mirrors Wi-Fi right back inside. A person standing in the doorway, mostly water, soaks up a chunk too. But even the empty air between the walls isn't empty. Out there, your signal isn't alone. On the old 2.4 band, there are really only 3 lanes that don't step on each other, and your router is sharing them with every neighbor's router for a block. Your Bluetooth earbuds are in that band. So is your microwave. It cooks at 2.45 gigahertz, right on top of the Wi-Fi channels, and a little of that leaks every time you reheat coffee. All of it adds up to a floor of background hiss. And this is the thing that actually decides whether you have Wi-Fi. Not how loud your signal is, but how far it sticks up above that hiss. Get too far from the router and the signal sinks toward the noise. And there's a line where sinking becomes dying. The radio has one trick to survive this: to move data fast. It packs it into a dense, delicate pattern, and reading that pattern takes a strong, clean signal. As you weaken, the radio quietly gives up speed to survive. It drops to a simpler pattern, then a simpler one, then the crudest, toughest one it has. Slower every step, but still alive. Until you cross the last step. Below that, there's no pattern rugged enough to read through the noise, and the link doesn't limp, it lets go. That's why Wi-Fi feels like a cliff, not a hill. One more step into that back room and it doesn't get slow, it dies. But that still doesn't explain the weirdest part. Why is one spot dead when the spot right next to it works fine? The signal doesn't reach you by one path. It arrives as a crowd, the direct wave plus dozens of copies bouncing off your walls, your floor, the fridge, and waves can cancel. When a bounced copy shows up exactly out of step with the direct one, the peak of one fills the trough of the other, and they flatten to nothing, a dead spot hanging in the air. Your whole room is full of them, an invisible pattern of bright zones and dead ones, like ripples crossing on a pond. And because a 2.4 wave is about 12 centimeters long, those dead spots sit about 6 centimeters apart, a hand's width. That's the little miracle you felt. You nudge the router, you wave your phone around, and it springs back to life. You didn't get closer, you just stepped your antenna out of a null and into a bright band a few centimeters over. So why not just turn the router up and shout past all of it? You can't. By law, your router is capped, about 1 watt and that's it. Crank it higher and it's illegal. And it still wouldn't help, because the connection goes both ways. The router can shout, but your phone answers back on a tiny fraction of the power. And if its whisper can't climb back over all that distance and noise, you're still dead. So put it all together for that one dark room. The signal spread thin across the distance. A concrete wall took most of what was left. The neighbors and the microwave raised the noise. And a reflection off your own wall carved a null right where you sit. Any one of them, you'd survive. Stacked together, the signal finally drops below the cliff, and the link lets go. Nothing's broken. Your router didn't fail, and neither did you. That back room is just the place where the physics ran out. Which tells you the only 3 things that ever help. Put the signal closer, move the router or add a second one, take away a wall, or drop to the slow band that was always better at going the distance. You can't outshout the physics, you can only stop fighting it.
Everything you just figured out rests on something deeper, and that's the next video, so start there. Would you rather understand your computer than just use it? Then subscribe, and I'll see you next time, further down the stack.